Are you thinking about buying a house? Were you not around for the '08 housing crash? So many similarities are showing themselves in today's market that we saw in '08 right before the crash. When you see new builders announcing that they're having to drop their prices to try to get some of this inventory sold, it's said that there's 9 months worth of new builds available nationwide. That means it would take 9 months to sell them all. Problem is, they're not selling. When they're slashing prices, that's because they're slashing profit. They don't like this. What comes next is they'll just stop building.
Stop lying, bruh. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Robert here. For those of you that don't know, on this channel, we simplify the home loan process. I know lying is a strong term for some of you guys, but this gentleman right here is not telling you the truth. He's giving you a bunch of fake news and misinformation. One thing I will give to him is this: he's figured out that where the attention goes, the money flows. The reason I'm on here to dispel a lot of things is because some of you out there might be looking for information to help you make one of the largest decisions in your life, and that's to become a homeowner. Well, with all of these folks out here parroting the same narrative, crying wolf, if you will, that really doesn't help you out. So I want to shed some light, give some facts so that if you're able, willing, and wanting to buy, you can get some information juxtaposed with what you're hearing, and hopefully it'll help you make that decision. Before we go forward, take a few moments and hit the like, subscribe, and that notification bell. I thank you in advance because it really helps the channel. Let's go a little deeper into what he's saying, and then I'll bring out some facts, as my elder says, to break the non-believers' backs. Check it out.
They'll leave all the framing exposed and just walk away and come back when the market comes back and then just build on that framing. Delinquencies, foreclosures, every month go higher and higher. It's becoming a bigger issue. 36 out of 50 states are having price drops. Those price drops are going to accelerate and they're going to get bigger. What good is equity if you can't realize it? A lot of people have unrealized equity and not going to be able to get that money out. HELOCs are getting harder and harder to get access to as banks, they see the writing on the wall. They've been here before. They're even cutting credit lines overnight. You went to sleep and you had a huge credit line. You woke up and it's gone, and now it's what you owe. And this is being reported by a lot of people. FHA just announced that they're trying to target people with a 500 FICO to sell them a house, saying we could use your rent history on your apartment to help you get into these houses. Trapping people at today's market prices is all they're doing. You know what the ugliest feeling was when the crash happened and it actually showed its face? People next door were buying houses for a couple $100,000 cheaper than the people who bought at the height of the market. So you know what that does? They're paying a lot less to be in that neighborhood than you. And what ends up happening is there's so much regret. People end up walking away. The housing crash in '08, it lasted 10 years. It wasn't just here and gone. It took years to get to the bottom and find and dig its way back out. It was a 10 to 12 year process. We're barely starting. Yeah, don't buy a house right now.
So, okay, let's address his points that he's making in the video. And I want to point you guys to the information again so that you can make the best decision. So the first thing that I wrote down, he was saying that there's a lot of similarities with the housing bubble or supposed crash that's happening now when you compare that to the 2008 through the 2012 housing bubble and or correction that happened at that time. And so the only similarities that I can see, because I was in it and actually doing mortgage loans at the time, and homeowner and investor all at the same time, the only similarities that I see that there were rising home prices. Okay. And even at that time, there were affordability challenges. You have to go back in history a little bit, and Bush 2, President George Bush II, had a big initiative for everyone to own a home. That spurred a lot of building, coupled with very, very loose, questionable, illegal lending practices. And as then and now, or any time in history, you always have that portion of society that's going to gravitate towards doing things the wrong way, for lack of a better term. So, to his first point, I don't see any other similarity other than there's rising home prices, because that's a function of a lack of inventory. The lack of inventory at that time was spurred by millions and millions of people being able to buy homes that hadn't been able to do prior, along with government policies and things of that nature, and very loose lending standards caused the housing shortage. Builders, investors, people smell money, they come into the market, they start building crazy, and that was the build up. I'll say 03, 04, 05, 06, right before the stuff hit the fan. The next thing, that the amount of houses that you guys have probably been hearing about lately, if you've been watching this stuff, the narrative is, oh, the housing market is about to crash because we have all of these homes on the market. Well, first of all, those are new homes, new construction. This is the first year, to be honest with you, since 22, 23, where we've had inventory increasing, because it's been very, very low. And even with the 500,000 homes that have hit the market as far as new construction is concerned, we're still, in my opinion, 2 million homes short, because between 2012 and now, builders have never built enough homes to just keep up with the population growth. You got to remember, the millennial cohort is larger than the baby boomers. Okay, so just with the natural living, dying, getting married, having babies, moving for job changes, we're probably going to get 2.5 to 3 million home sales a year just from that. Folks that are going to move regardless. And so everything over that, the years leading up to 2008, and then really from 2019 to 2022, because of the variables that were going on at that time, had record number of people, 5 million plus people buying homes. Well, that's where the bubble has been on the residential side, the decrease in the amount of sales. So this year, first year where the inventory has risen during the housing buying season, we'll call it April through September. So you get that natural spike. And this is the first year that it's going up, but it has not surpassed. It's not higher than the inventory was prior to the pandemic in 2019. So again, another fear tactic to get your attention, because not just this gentleman, but that's what all of these folks are doing. They're making money on these social media platforms because they get paid by keeping you on the platform scrolling so they can show ads to you. Third thing he mentioned was the foreclosures. He knows the game. When you have a hot topic and people keep watching, he's going to keep talking about foreclosures and all these foreclosure starts. 2 videos ago, go back and look in the channel. I showed you if all these foreclosures are hitting the market, specifically he mentions FHA, you could go to the HUDhomestore.com, and that's where the federal government, FHA, liquidates properties that are ready for sale, okay, for the public. And I think in Texas, there were a whopping 173 foreclosures for the whole state. So here's the deal. Foreclosures this year have ticked up as far as the filings are concerned. And again, there's a big difference between a delinquency or a start and an actual foreclosure, right? But the overall activity is still not equal to what it was prior to the pandemic. And I'm going to say 2019. So you got to watch these numbers. You can make numbers say whatever. There's numbers, but there's no facts. So as you guys are making your decision, you have to go and do your due diligence, either to find the people that you know, like, and trust, or get online and verify what folks are saying, validate what I'm saying. Okay. Overall, foreclosures are down. Why? Because one of the good things that came from the housing market debacle from 2008 to 2012, maybe 2013, depending on where you were, the trough where we started coming out, was that we had a lot of regulation. Dodd-Frank was a big overarching regulation. Out of that, one of the things that changed was the know before you owe and the ability to repay. So when you're getting a mortgage loan now, it's not like it was back then. All those things came out of that situation to make sure we don't ever have a situation like that again. Now, am I saying that we won't ever have a housing bubble again? No, I'm not saying that, because we actually have one in the commercial real estate. There's a big bubble there. Nobody's talking about that. But this is residential we're speaking of. So said all that to say, another fear tactic, more fear mongering. The numbers just don't bear out. Let's move forward. He's also mentioning, again, anytime these folks say 36 out of 50 states, they just going online, they pulling up articles. They're not even reading the articles. And then they don't have any domain experience. He's not a lender. I don't even think he owns a home, to be honest with you. Probably a renter. But again, he's figured out, like a lot of you guys need to figure out how to make some more money, because that's what the name of the game is. Okay. I'm just one that, I'm not going to do anything to make money, right? But some people, they don't have any filter. And if they're not breaking any rules, they're not breaking any rules. Caveat emptor. You as the buyer, you have to beware. You have to do your due diligence and make sure that you've done your best to pick the right team. And so the next point that he made was that I think he said 36 out of 50 states in the U.S. are experiencing a decrease in monthly home values. That's actually a good thing for you if you want to buy. The bad news with that is you guys have listened to these folks so long, you don't have a baseline and understand there's not going to be a 50% correction. There's not. Number one. Number two, take new home construction. Builders have been giving a lot of incentives because they can control that transaction. But if you have a builder giving you $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in incentives, I guarantee you they bumped up the purchase price. They're going to bump up that purchase price as much as they can to protect the sales price, because that's what dictates the market to sell another home. So if those of you that are out there are smart and get the right representation, you can get some good deals, but they're not going to be 30, 40, 50% discounts, because the builders can hold out and find one of you guys that don't have any money, respectfully, and want a new house to get in it and give you some incentives and things of that nature so that you can buy the rate down, which is not a bad thing, to help you get in the home, because there is so much meat on the bone. Trust me, they know what they're doing. You might see regional or small builders pull out, but the big boys, they know what they're doing, and it's ebbs and flows. And they're, in my opinion, going to more of a just-in-time, building the houses once they get a contract. And some of these contracts are draconian. You guys better get a realtor that knows more than just pretty and cute or handsome and riding around and trying. They better know how to negotiate and read these contracts, which most don't. If you guys need help with that, reach out. I have a team pretty much across the nation of folks that I've done business with and referred people to, that they're going to be represented the right way. But that's what these builders are doing. So there's 27 out of 50 states. Some people say 36 out of 50. Again, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, especially if you've been on the sideline looking for a deal. But the deal is not going to come in the way and form that we're not going back to 2019 prices. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's move forward. He mentioned HELOCs, and banks are tightening up, and you go to sleep and wake up and you don't have access to credit. That's true, because a lot of you guys aren't making your payments. A lot of you guys are overextended. And banks watch those things today more so than ever, because a lot of stuff is connected. They have access. They have triggers. So if you run up a credit card balance or 2 or 3, they're going to shut that thing down. In the same breath, I help people even today that are well qualified, that have good ratios, that are borrowing money for the right reasons and not listening to a lot of folks and stuff that you see online with these folks talking about business credit and business this and business that, and you have no income, no revenue, right? And there's ways to track that. So yeah, a lot of folks are getting sued. A lot of folks' credit lines are getting cut off because they're in the business. We're in the business of lending money, and there's a way to track that. But if you're somebody that's well qualified, you have good income, and you're not out here with those signals that I'm running up 5 different credit card balances at once, you're going to be fine. If there's a reason to get a home equity line of credit, I've not had a problem with anybody getting one at this time. Now, here's the last one. And this is why you guys have to deal with people that know what they're talking about and that you trust. Now, he said FHA came out with a new program. First of all, FHA has always allowed you as a potential buyer, if you have what we call a thin credit file. Example, say you just graduated from college. You were there 4 years, you graduated, and you just got a job, okay? Well, you may not have any rental history. You may not have, you may have a decent credit score, but you don't have a lot of trade lines, okay? Trade line, just someone has extended credit to you. And for those of you that don't know, you should minimum have 3 that's been open for 24 months or longer, that have 0 lates, 0. But say you're just getting out of school, you have a thin credit file, okay? You could get a cosigner. We used to call those kitty condos, like mom and dad or somebody could cosign that's not going to live in the house. Or say you've been on that job a year. You've been there a year, because really you have to have a 12-month rental history. FHA has always allowed that. That typically comes into play with folks that have had bad or challenged credit in the past, and now they have a clean 12-month history. Call that manual underwriting. Typically, people that are doing manual underwrites have had some type of credit challenge in the past, right? And therefore, if you want to buy a house, the best indicator of how you might pay that home payment, other than the ability for you to repay, is your rental history. I just wanted to address those things to let you guys know that, hey, home ownership is not something you have to do. Nobody's making you go to college. Nobody's making you buy a home. Nobody's making you do any of these things. What we want to do on this channel is empower you and encourage you that you have to know your numbers, and you must live beneath your means. You must be able to afford the home. It's not just getting into the home. Can you maintain it? Got several videos on the channel talking about that as well. How to determine if you can afford to change the air filter that prevents your air conditioner going out. A lot of people don't realize that, and paying thousands of dollars. How to set aside a certain amount of money based upon your square footage, so that when the water heater or the roof, things that don't last forever, when those things are obsolete, they've depreciated out, you have the ability to change, so that as an investor, somebody that has invested and maintained your investment, when it's time for you to cash out, you can tap into the equity. Last thing, true story. 2008, got a young family. My house where I was living, the value corrected probably like a 8% decrease. But that's the deal. I wasn't going to sell at that time, right? And I planned on being there because I was raising my family. So if you go into buying these homes in that aspect, you're not going to be like these folks in 22 and 23 that were rolling the dice, or at Vegas, or however you guys gamble now. I don't know. I'm not a gambler. But those things help mitigate what might happen, because we overcame whatever little correction there was, because real estate is a long-term play. Long-term play. So with that, not a direct attack on anybody, but the information is a direct attack on that. We got to quit lying and got to start telling the truth. And you guys, once given the information correctly, then you're empowered to make the best decision, and you won't feel like you've been taken advantage of. So yeah, man, get down in the comment section. You guys have been doing a great job with that. If you don't agree, just do so respectfully. All that cussing and calling people, and we ain't doing that. I'm going to delete it. But everything else, we let it ride. I appreciate your viewpoint, because we're all different. and we don't have to agree. We just have to respect one another. So let us know if I missed something. Let me know. Share your story, because it really helps folks out, especially us older folks. It helps those younger to encourage them, because other than home ownership, you guys tell me, they got all these folks telling you not to buy homes, but they have them, and they got rental houses for you to rent. Go figure. So if I'm wrong with that, let me know. And until the next time, peace.